Hi, welcome to Brodie's Kitchen. I'm food influencer Luisainsta, and today I'll be showing you how to make my no-bake Oreo cheesecake. I love to make this cheesecake because it's a no-bake, so it's perfect for a summer's night and you can enjoy it in the garden post-supper. For making this cheesecake you'll need, for the crust, 24 Oreos and 4 tablespoons of butter. For the filling, 2 cups of double cream, 1 cup of cream cheese, and 1 cup of mascarpone cheese, 1 cup of icing sugar, 1 cup of chocolate chips, 10 Oreo biscuits, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. For decoration, you'll need 4 Oreo cookies and 1 chocolate bar. I like to use milk chocolate, but you can use any kind you want. For the crust, I've just melted my 4 tablespoons of butter in the microwave for 1 minute. And I'm going to take the Oreos and place them into a blender at high speed until they're basically crumbs. You can just crush the biscuits by hand. You just pop them into a bag and just crush them with a rolling pin. That will take a lot of energy and a lot of time, but if you don't have a blender, it is doable. I have used the blender, so I'm just going to pop my butter into the blender as well. And I'll just blitz it quickly just to make sure it's all incorporated into a nice paste for our crust. Nice and easy. So as I mentioned, this is a no-bake cheesecake, meaning that we won't have to pop this in the oven. The crust is ready as it is. So I'm actually just going to make sure I get it all out of my blender and into a 9-inch round baking tin. It's important actually to use a springform pan, which is one of these that you can pop open for a cheesecake, just because a cheesecake isn't like a regular cake where you can flip it upside down after you've baked it. So for this, unless it is a springform pan, there's no way to get it out. So I'm just pressing the crushed Oreos and butter into the baking tin, just to make sure it's all nice and flat and nice and even. Make sure there's no gaps, otherwise your cheesecake filling will just go right through once you remove the pan. I'm going to pop this in the fridge just while I make my filling, so literally just for the next 10 minutes it's going to go in the fridge and start setting. And now for the filling. I'm going to start by whipping the double cream. So for that I will use a hand mixer. Obviously if you've got a standing mixer and you're being very fancy, go ahead and use that. It will make your life a lot easier. Make sure your double cream is nice and cold because it will be whipped harder more easily if it is very cold. So even put it in the freezer 10 minutes before using it if you can. The great thing about making a no-bake dessert is that you don't have to be precise with measurement, because the risk when making a baking dessert is that if you get the measurements even just slightly wrong, the dessert won't rise. The cake, the biscuits, the bread, anything just won't rise in the oven if you get a pinch more of the wrong ingredient. So with no-bake cheesecake, no-bake desserts in general, it's all about taste. So I say 2 cups of double cream, and I'll say a cup of cream cheese, a cup of mascarpone cheese. If you like it tangier, you can actually just forego the mascarpone cheese and use twice the amount of cream cheese. You can use less sugar if you find it too sweet for your taste. You can really just adjust it and keep tasting it until you like the way it tastes, because you really can't go wrong with this. So I'm just going to whisk the double cream until it forms nice medium peaks, let's say, not too soft and not too stiff. That's just about right. It actually only took about 30 seconds of whisking. Big concern of mine when whipping double cream is that if you over whisk it, it will become butter, and that's irreversible. So if you're unsure, it's better to leave it a touch too soft than a touch too hard. So that's roughly what it should look like. It's holding its shape, but it's not actually stiff. and that's what you want. So I'm just going to put that aside and make the rest of the filling in another bowl. So in a clean bowl, I'm just going to place the mascarpone cheese together with the cream cheese and the icing sugar. I'm actually just using the same whisk that I used for the double cream, so no need to wash it in between because you will be putting them together in a second. Nice and quick because I'm not trying to whip up the cream cheese or anything like that. I'm literally just trying to blend it together with the mascarpone cheese and icing sugar with no lumps. So as long as you've got it nice and smooth, that's it, you're done. So I'm just going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence, vanilla paste, whatever you've got at home, into this. And I would say with vanilla extract, essence, whatever you're using, always go with the best you can afford because it really does make a difference taste-wise. Now I'm going to also add the double cream that we had whipped into here. And I will use my whisk very carefully because again, I do not want the double cream to turn into butter. So I'm literally going to whisk this for about 10 seconds, just until it's nice and smooth. Now my creams are all nice and smooth in here, I'm just going to add all my yummy bits. So I've got about 10 Oreos in here that I'm going to break up into pieces and put into the filling mixture. You can use more. If you wanted to use 20 Oreos, 30 Oreos, go for it if you're a massive Oreo fan. Just bear in mind you have also got an Oreo base in the cheesecake, so I find that overkill. I'm also not the biggest Oreo fan, so just play it by ear, whatever you want, whatever works for you. And I'm also going to use a cup of milk chocolate chips. You can use dark, you can use white, whatever floats your boat. You can use chocolate chunks. Again, this is a no-bake cheesecake, so you can't really get it wrong. My advice would be once you've made the creamy mixture, just shove in there whatever you would want to find in there, whether that's chocolate chips, broken up cookie pieces, cut up chocolate bars like Snickers, Maltesers, anything you want. I'm just going to keep it simple, but you have my full permission to go wild. I'm just folding in the chocolate chips and I'm just breaking the Oreos up into maybe quarters, thirds, whatever works for you. Obviously, if you feel inclined to lose a couple of pieces into your mouth while you're doing this, that's fine too. And I'm literally just folding this by hand with the spatula. So now I'm just going to take the filling we've made and pour that into the baking tin on top of the crust. Feel free to pour that right into the middle. You don't need to be careful because you can use your spatula afterwards to just flatten it out and give it the shape you want. Look at that, you can see all the Oreo pieces coming through, you can see the chocolate chips coming through. You can really just start to taste it at this point, but you've got to be a little bit patient with it because it just won't hold unless it's been in the fridge for a few hours. And just take your time to really flatten it out, nice and even, because you can't really see how even it is when it's in the baking tin, but once the baking tin comes off, it will look very crooked if you haven't paid attention. And now our cheesecake is ready to decorate. So I'm going to take my chocolate bar and just break it down into pieces, into a ramekin, and pop that in the microwave for 1 minute, no longer than that. And if it hasn't melted in a minute, pop it back in for 10 seconds and check, and then 10 seconds and check. Don't pop it in for 2 to 3 minutes the first time round. If it goes beyond melted and it starts cooking in the microwave, then you can't use it and you can't eat it, and you've just got to get a fresh chocolate bar. So don't overdo it to begin with. That's been in for 1 minute, so I'm just going to check it. There's some lumps in the middle still that haven't fully melted, but actually I'll just keep stirring them until they are, instead of popping it back in the microwave. And that's actually a really good trick for melting chocolate, is if you put chocolate solids into melted chocolate, it will usually just melt the solids as well. So just keep stirring. Now, what I'm going to do to decorate this cheesecake is to just take a teaspoon with my ramekin of melted chocolate, and I'll just go back and forth on the cheesecake, forming stripes one way until I'm about halfway through the chocolate. And then I'll take the teaspoon and make lines the opposite way, so as forming a crisscross on top of the cheesecake until I'm done with the chocolate. And now, to finish this off, just to show the world that it is an Oreo cheesecake, I'm going to use Oreos to decorate it. So I'll take 4 of them and I'll cut them in half, which is a very, very difficult task. So if you don't get it right and they become all broken up and crumbly, shove them in your mouth and start again. And I'm just going to take the 2 halves and place them opposite each other on the cheesecake and just push them in a little bit. Again, making crosses like this. And that also makes it very easy to cut slices once your cheesecake is ready, because you'll know that you'll want half of a cookie to be in the middle of a slice. So that breaks it up very nicely into 8 large slices. So that's us ready to go into the fridge overnight. I would say at least for 4 hours, but better if it's overnight. If you are in a real hurry, you can just pop it in the freezer for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. It's been in the fridge overnight, so it's now ready to be taken out of the springform pan and be served. What I'll do is run a sharp knife just around the edge of the pan, just to make sure the Oreo cheesecake is nice and loose, and then I'll remove the springform pan. So I'm going to try being very careful doing this so as not to scratch the pan, because nobody likes a scratched cake pan. So the way you open a springform pan is by just undoing this spring here. There you go. And it's nice and loose, so you lift it up. And there you have your gorgeous cheesecake ready to be served. Look at that. That's beautiful. You could serve that at any dinner party, and I bet you anyone would be thrilled to see that on the table. Thank you for watching our video on how to make a no-bake Oreo cheesecake. My name is Luisa, food influencer at Luisainsta, and I've been on Brodie's Kitchen. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. And if you want to support us, please look us up on Patreon, where you can find lots of extra goodies.